The click of the deadbolt was what woke me. 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the sound was wrong. Too quiet, too deliberate. I saw her silhouette slip out of the bedroom, fully dressed. When I caught her at the front door, bag in hand, she didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed. "You don't own me, Max," she hissed. "I'll be back when I feel like it." I just nodded. She thought she was making a statement about her freedom. What she didn't know was that with that one sentence, she had just checked out permanently. My life is built on systems, on neutralizing threats. This was a security breach. She was my biggest vulnerability, and I was about to close the loop. I didn't yell. I didn't ask where she was going. My professional instincts took over. I went to my computer and in a few clicks deactivated her key fob and entry code. I changed every shared password. Her comfortable, subsidized life was being systematically dismantled, but that was just the beginning. My fourth and final move was the most important, the one she would never see coming. I picked up my phone and called the one person in the world she feared most, her father, General David Miller, retired, a man who believed in discipline, accountability, and order above all else. "I apologize for the late hour, General," I said, my voice calm. "I believe you need to be aware of a situation with Mary. As of this moment, your daughter is effectively homeless. She'll be back when her fun runs out. I propose a solution. I'll pack her things, you fly here, and you take her home. You're the only one she can't run from." He was silent for a long time. "I'll be on the first flight tomorrow morning," he said, and the line went dead. The trap was set. She was out there living her free-spirited fantasy, completely unaware that her greatest fear was already flying across the country to collect her. She wasn't just going to lose her place to live, she was going to lose the illusion of freedom. The last 4 days were a study in methodical execution. General Miller arrived on Wednesday morning exactly as promised. He's an imposing man, and we were two men dealing with the same problem from different angles. "I appreciate you handling this with a head level, Max," he said, his eyes scanning the apartment. "I'm just neutralizing a threat to my security, General," I replied. We spent the next 2 days packing her life into boxes. He found things even I hadn't seen. Maxed out credit card bills. A diary filled with rants about how stifling her life was. He didn't comment on any of it. He just packed it all away. Her return came on Thursday afternoon, almost exactly 68 hours after she had left. My security system alerted me. My phone started ringing with her calls, then texts, first angry, then pleading. I ignored them all. Then the general's phone rang. "She's calling me now," he said, putting it on speaker. "Dad?" Mary's voice was frantic. "Something's wrong with Max. He's locked me out of the apartment. Can you call him? He's not answering." "I know he's not, Mary," the general said, his voice like granite. "I'm in his apartment right now." The silence on the other end was absolute. I could picture her face, the dawning horror as she processed what he had just said. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. She was standing there, pale and disheveled. "What is he doing here?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "He's here because you are no longer my responsibility. You gave up your right to live here. Your father has graciously offered to take you in." "You called my dad?" she shrieked. "You went behind my back." It was the general who answered her. "He has every right, Mary. It's his home. You've been living in a fantasy world, and it ends today. Your things are packed. We have a flight back home tomorrow morning at 800. She tried to argue, to plead with me. "Max, please, I made a mistake." "It's already done, Mary," I pointed to the boxes. "Your new life starts now." She spent the night in the guest room, a prisoner of the consequences she had created. The free spirit was finally grounded. 2 weeks later, the silence in my apartment is no longer tense, it's clean. It has been 2 weeks since I drove Mary and her father to the airport. The flight home, according to a brief professional follow-up call from the general, was unpleasant. Mary was sullen and hostile, refusing to speak to him. When they arrived at her parents' home, the reality of her new situation began to set in. Her father, true to his word, had laid down the law. Her freelance career, which consisted of a few small projects a month, was not a real job. She had 31 days to find full-time employment. Her nights of going out and coming home whenever she pleased were over. She had a curfew. She was expected to contribute to the household, to clean, to cook. For the first time in her adult life, she was being treated like an adult. Her attempt to rally support and paint me as the villain failed spectacularly. She called her friends, the ones she had been out with, and spun a tale of a controlling, obsessive ex who had locked her out of the apartment and called her father to have her dragged away. It didn't work. One of her friends, a woman I had always thought was the most level-headed of the group, actually called me. "I need to be honest, Max," she said. "We all knew she was seeing someone else. We told her she was playing with fire. She has a pattern of doing this, of using people for stability and then getting bored. What you did, honestly, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to her." That phone call was more validating than anything else. It confirmed that this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was who she was. The man she had been sneaking out to see, a bartender at a dive bar, had predictably vanished from the picture. He wasn't interested in a long-distance relationship with a broke, unemployed woman living with her parents under a strict curfew. He stopped answering her calls within a week. My life, in contrast, has been a return to productive normalcy. I deep-cleaned the apartment, getting rid of the last traces of her presence. I sold the ridiculously uncomfortable couch she had insisted on buying and replaced it with a classic leather one. I've been focusing on my work, landing a major new client that will require all of my attention for the next few months. The focus is welcome. It's clean, logical, and the outcomes are predictable. I did have one final piece of business to handle. Mary had left behind a few valuable items, including a laptop and some professional camera equipment that I had bought for her to help her with her design business. Her father called and asked what I wanted to do with them. I told him to sell them. Use the money to pay back the security deposit on her last apartment. I know for a fact she never paid it. The rest can be a severance package. The message was clear. I was not just ending our personal relationship, I was closing every loophole, every last vestige of her dependency on me. The final invoice was being paid. The most satisfying part of this whole ordeal wasn't the confrontation. It was the quiet, methodical process of reclaiming my life. The revenge wasn't a loud, explosive event. It was a silent, strategic removal of a threat. I identified the vulnerability, assessed the risk, and executed a plan to neutralize it. She thought her power was in her defiance, in her ability to come and go as she pleased. She never understood that real power lies in stability, in self-sufficiency, in the quiet confidence of a man who owns his own life. I'm seeing someone new now, an architect. She's brilliant. We have conversations about foundations, about integrity, about building things that last. When she stays the night, she doesn't sneak out. She's there in the morning, making coffee, talking about our plans for the day. It's a partnership, not a sponsorship. Mary's final desperate act was to tell people I had ruined her life, but I didn't. I just stopped letting her ruin mine. I opened the door, and she walked out of it. Her father was just the consequence waiting on the other side. She said I didn't own her, and she was right. But she didn't own me either. The moment she forgot that, the game was over. She just didn't know it.